Taiho knew he was going to die today. He could feel it in his bones. He stood in the cargo bay of Horizon's Edge, a space station floating at the edge of known space. His hands were shaking. His heart was beating too fast. The report on his tablet made everything worse with each word he read. Velroth Empire vessel incoming, the message said. Requires standard inspection. All available inspectors report to Docking Bay 7. Taiho looked around the break room. 5 minutes ago, there had been 6 other inspectors here. Now he was alone. Every single one of them had suddenly become sick. One claimed food poisoning. Another said he had a family emergency. The third simply ran away without giving any excuse at all. Cowards, Taiho thought. Then he looked at the report again. Actually, they were smart. He was the coward for not running first. The Velroth were monsters. Every species in the galaxy knew this. They came from a death world where everything tried to kill everything else. They had evolved as the top predators. They drank blood. They had fangs. They could move faster than the eye could see. And they had very, very bad tempers. Taiho pulled up more files on his tablet. The Velroth had killed 17 diplomats in the last century. 12 of those deaths were classified as accidents. The other 5 were listed as cultural misunderstandings. Apparently, one ambassador had sneezed during a formal greeting. The Velroth considered this an insult. The ambassador did not survive the next hour. Inspector Taiho, the station computer announced. Please report to Docking Bay 7 immediately. The vessel Crimson Silence is preparing to dock. Taiho closed his eyes. He thought about his life. He thought about his small apartment back on Earth. He thought about his friend Yuna, who had warned him that taking a deep space posting was a bad idea. She was right. She was always right. He walked toward the docking bay with the slowness of a man walking to his own funeral. The hallways were empty. Word had spread fast. Nobody wanted to be anywhere near a Velroth ship. Taiho passed by a maintenance worker who looked at him with pity. The security guard made a religious gesture as he walked by. A cleaning robot seemed to move out of his way with unusual speed. Docking Bay 7 was the largest bay on the station. It was also the coldest. Taiho did not know if this was for technical reasons, or if someone was trying to create a proper atmosphere for meeting space vampires. He stood before the massive airlock door. Through the small window, he could see the Velroth ship. It was black and red, shaped like a blade. It looked like it had been designed to frighten people. It was working. The communication panel beeped. A voice came through, deep and cold. Horizon's Edge Station. We are the Crimson Silence, carrying Lady Sarah of the Third Dominion. Prepare to receive us. Lady Sarah. Taiho knew that name. Everyone knew that name. He pulled up her file with trembling fingers. Lady Sarah, Duchess of the Velroth Third Dominion. Age, approximately 400 years. Known aliases, the Crimson Duchess, the Silent Death, the Butcher of Kilo Station, the Butcher of Kilo Station. Taiho remembered hearing about that incident. A space station similar to this one had offended her somehow. The report said she had killed 47 people in a single night. Some reports said she did it alone. The airlock made a hissing sound. Taiho jumped back. The doors were opening. White mist poured out from the ship. Velroth liked their ships cold and dark. Shapes moved within the mist. Tall shapes. Dangerous shapes. The first to emerge were the guards. They were massive, almost 7 feet tall. Their skin was pale gray. Their eyes were red. They wore black armor that seemed to drink in the light. Each one carried a weapon that Taiho could not identify, but knew could probably cut him in half. They spread out on either side of the airlock, creating a path. Then they stood perfectly still. They did not blink. Taiho was not sure if they were breathing. Then she appeared. Lady Sarah stepped out of the mist like a nightmare coming to life. She was tall, over 6 feet. Her skin was silver white, smooth as marble. Her hair was black as space itself, falling past her shoulders. She wore a red dress that looked like it was made from liquid blood, but her eyes were the worst part. They were gold. Bright, burning gold. And they locked onto Taiho immediately. She walked toward him with slow, deliberate steps. Each step was graceful. Each step was terrifying. Her guards fell in behind her, silent as shadows. Taiho tried to speak. His throat was dry. His legs wanted to run. His brain was screaming at him to look away, to not make eye contact with the predator. But he was frozen in place. Lady Sarah stopped 3 feet in front of him. She was so close that he could see her fangs behind her slightly parted lips. They were long. They were sharp. They looked very capable of tearing out a throat. "Human," she said. Her voice was like ice and silk mixed together. "You are the inspector?" Taiho opened his mouth. His brain tried to form professional words. Words like, "Welcome to Horizon's Edge, my lady." Words like, "I hope your journey was pleasant." Words that would keep him alive. Instead, what came out was, "You have really nice fangs." Very symmetrical. The entire docking bay went silent. One of the guards made a strangled sound. Lady Sarah's golden eyes went wide. Taiho realized what he had just said. He also realized that he was definitely going to die now. Taiho wanted the floor to open up and swallow him. He wanted a meteor to hit the station. He wanted anything that would stop this moment from continuing. He had just complimented a vampire alien's fangs. The same vampire alien who had killed 47 people at Kilo Station. The same one who could probably remove his head from his body before he could blink. The guards were reaching for their weapons. Their red eyes burned with anger. One of them stepped forward, claws extended. But Lady Sarah raised her hand. The guard stopped immediately. She stared at Taiho. Her golden eyes studied him like he was some strange creature she had never seen before. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours. Then Lady Sarah laughed. It was not a cruel laugh. It was not a mocking laugh. It was a genuine laugh, full of surprise and something that almost sounded like delight. The sound echoed through the docking bay. Her guards looked at each other. They seemed confused. Based on their expressions, they had never heard their lady laugh before. "You compliment my fangs," Lady Sarah said. Her lips curved into a smile that showed those very fangs. "Do you know what that means among my people, little human?" Taiho shook his head. He did not trust his voice. "Among the Valrath, commenting on someone's fangs is very intimate," she explained. "It is something a lover would say. It is the beginning of courtship." Taiho felt all the blood drain from his face. Then it all rushed back, turning him red. He had accidentally proposed to the universe's most dangerous vampire alien. This was worse than death. I mean, I was not trying to, it was just because I was nervous and... He stumbled over his words like a child. "I know," Lady Sarah said. She was still smiling. "That is what makes it charming. You were afraid enough to die, yet you could not help but speak honestly." She stepped closer. "Humans usually grovel before me. They beg. They cry. They bore me. You are different." "I am just very bad at being professional," Taiho managed to say. Clearly. Lady Sarah turned to her guards. "This human will be my personal escort during our stay. No one else." The guards exchanged looks of shock. The head guard, a female Velrith with a scar across her face, stepped forward. "My lady, he is just a cargo inspector. He is not qualified. I do not care," Lady Sarah interrupted. "He amuses me. That is rare." "That is rare." I will keep him. Keep him. Like a pet. Taiho was not sure if this was better or worse than being killed. The next several hours were the strangest of Taiho's life. He walked beside Lady Sarah as she toured the station. Her guards followed at a distance, watching everything with suspicious eyes. Lady Sarah asked questions about everything. She wanted to know about the station systems. She wanted to know about human culture. She wanted to know about Taiho himself. Why do you work in deep space? She asked as they walked through the observation deck. I was demoted, Taiho admitted. There was no point in lying. She would probably smell it somehow. I accidentally insulted an ambassador from Kepler 7. I called his ceremonial hat funny looking. I did not know it was sacred. So you have a habit of saying wrong things to important people? Apparently, yes. Lady Sarah laughed again. I like you, little human. You do not pretend to be more than you are. They stopped at a window overlooking the stars. The Velrith ship floated nearby, dark and menacing. Lady Sarah stared at it with an expression Taiho could not read. Your ship is very beautiful, he said, trying to make polite conversation. It looks very fast and sharp. Good for stabbing through space. He closed his eyes. Stabbing through space. What was wrong with him? You think my ship is beautiful? Lady Sarah turned to look at him. Something flickered in her golden eyes. Among my people, praising someone's ship is also quite intimate. The ship is an extension of the self. Taiho groaned. Please tell me there is anything I can say that is not intimate. Probably not, Lady Sarah said. The Velrith find most things intimate. We are a passionate people. Great, wonderful. He was going to accidentally marry her before the day was over. They continued walking. Lady Sarah pointed at a food vendor and asked about human eating habits. Taiho explained about pizza and coffee, which seemed to confuse her greatly. She could not understand why humans would eat something that was not alive. We cook our food, Taiho said. We apply heat to kill bacteria and improve flavor. You kill your food twice? Lady Sarah tilted her head. How wasteful. I suppose it is. She leaned closer to him. What do you fear, Taiho? The question surprised him. Right now? You. Definitely you. Good answer. She smiled, showing her fangs again. Fear is healthy. It keeps prey alive. Am I prey? All species are prey to the Velrith. Her voice dropped lower. But some prey is more interesting than others. They stopped in a quiet corridor near the station's arboretum. Plants from a dozen worlds grew behind glass walls. It was the most peaceful place on the station. Lady Sarah moved suddenly, faster than Taiho could follow. One moment she was beside him. The next moment she was in front of him, blocking his path. Her hand pressed against the wall beside his head. She was very, very close. You have spent hours with me, she said softly. You have trembled. You have sweated. Your heart has raced like a small animal's. Yet you have not run. I cannot run from a duchess, Taiho said. His voice came out as a whisper. It would be rude. It would be smart. I could kill you in a heartbeat. I know. Why do you stay? Taiho thought about the question. His fear was telling him to scream. His logic was telling him to beg. But somewhere deeper, something else answered. Because you have not given me a reason to run, he said. You have been curious. You have been interested. You have even been kind in your way. The reports say you are a monster. But monsters do not laugh at bad compliments. They do not ask about pizza. They do not look sad when they see their own ship. Lady Sarah's eyes widened. For a moment, her mask of control slipped. Behind it, Taiho saw something unexpected. Loneliness. Ancient, terrible loneliness. Then the mask returned. She stepped back. You see too much, little human, she said quietly. That is either very brave or very foolish. It is probably foolish. Yes. She turned and began walking again. But she glanced back at him over her shoulder. I have not decided yet. Either way, I am not finished with you. Taiho followed her, his heart still racing. He was in very, very deep trouble. 1 week passed. Taiho was still alive. This surprised everyone, including himself. Lady Sira had requested his presence every single day. Each morning, a guard would appear at his quarters. Each morning, Taiho would follow the guard to wherever the Duchess waited. And each day, they would walk together, talk together, and spend hours in each other's company. The station was going crazy with rumors. Commander Dohan called Taiho into his office on the 5th day. What are you doing? Dohan demanded. He was a short man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had survived 30 years in deep space by avoiding trouble. Now trouble had found him anyway. I am not doing anything, Taiho said. She just wants to talk. She is a Velrith Duchess. She has killed more people than I can count. And she wants to talk to a cargo inspector? Apparently. Dohan put his head in his hands. The diplomatic channels are on fire. The Velrith Empire is asking questions. Human government is asking questions. Everyone wants to know why Lady Sira is spending time with you. I do not know either, sir. Then make her stop. Taiho looked at his commander. Sir, with respect, how do you suggest I make a 400-year-old vampire stop doing anything? Doan had no answer for that. On the 7th day, Lady Sira invited Taiho to dinner aboard her ship. He knew he could not refuse. Refusing royalty would cause a diplomatic incident. It might also cause his death. The crimson silence was even more frightening on the inside. The walls were dark metal carved with strange symbols. The lights were dim red. The temperature was cold enough to make Taiho's breath visible. Lady Sarah waited for him in a private dining room. She had changed from her usual red dress into something darker, almost black. Her silver skin seemed to glow in the dim light. Welcome to my home, she said. Please sit. The table was long and elegant. 2 places were set, one at each end. Taiho sat down carefully, trying not to touch anything that looked sharp. Servants appeared, silent and quick. They placed dishes on the table. Taiho looked at the food and felt his stomach turn. The meat was still moving. Actually moving. Small creatures that looked like purple crabs crawled across the plate, trying to escape. A bowl of something dark and liquid sat beside them. It smelled like copper. Traditional Velrith cuisine, Lady Sira explained. The freshness is important. It must be alive when consumed. Taiho stared at the crawling food. Every part of his human brain screamed that this was wrong. Humans cook things. Humans did not eat living creatures. But Lady Sira was watching him. Her golden eyes missed nothing. This was a test. Taiho picked up one of the purple crabs. It wiggled in his fingers. He closed his eyes, put it in his mouth, and bit down. The taste was actually not terrible. It was something like shellfish, but sweeter. The texture was strange, though. He tried not to think about the wiggling. He swallowed. Then he opened his eyes. Lady Sira was staring at him with open surprise. You ate it. Yes, it disgusted you. Very much. Then why did you eat it? Taiho took a deep breath. Because you invited me to dinner. Because this is your food. Because refusing would be an insult to you and your culture. He paused. And because I think you wanted to see what I would do. Lady Sira's expression changed. Something softened in her ancient eyes. You consume what disgusts you rather than offend me. Your species is more interesting than the reports suggested. The rest of the dinner was easier. Lady Sira had other dishes prepared. ones that were more suitable for human stomachs. They talked as they ate. She asked about Earth. He told her about oceans and forests and cities full of millions of people. "So crowded," she murmured. "Velrith prefers solitude. Too many of us together leads to violence." "Is that why you are here?" Taiho asked. "To be alone?" Lady Shira went still. The air in the room seemed to grow colder. "You are observant," she said quietly. "Perhaps too observant. I am sorry. I should not have asked." "No," she raised a hand. "You deserve an answer. You have been more honest with me than anyone in a very long time." She stood and walked to a window. Stars filled the darkness beyond. "I have enemies," she said. "In the Velrith court, power is everything. I have power. Others want it. They have tried to kill me 17 times in the last century." 17 times? Yes, I killed them all, of course. But they keep coming. New enemies, new plots, new poisons. She turned to look at him. "I came to this station because it is neutral territory. No Velrith law applies here. I thought I would be safe. Are you not safe?" Lady Sarah smiled, but it was a sad smile. "I am never safe. That is the price of being what I am." Taiho felt something strange in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. Sympathy. He felt sympathy for this ancient vampire who had killed countless beings. "That is awful," he said. "You should not have to run from your own people." Lady Sira's eyes widened. She stared at him as if he had grown a second head. "What did you say?" "I said it is awful. No one should have to live like that. Constantly watching their back. Never trusting anyone. Never feeling safe." Taiho shrugged. "It sounds lonely." For a long moment, Lady Sarah did not move. Something flickered across her face. Pain? Surprise? Hope? Then she did something unexpected. She dismissed her guards. They hesitated, clearly uncomfortable leaving her alone with a human. But a sharp look from their lady sent them out the door. Now it was just the two of them. Lady Sarah sat down across from Taiho, not at the far end of the table, but right next to him. Close enough that he could see the faint silver patterns in her skin. "No one has shown me sympathy in centuries," she said softly. "My own people see me as a weapon. Other species see me as a monster. But you, little human, you see me as a person who deserves peace." "You are a person," Taiho said. "Even if you are also scary. I am very scary. I know. I am terrified right now." Lady Sarah laughed. It was becoming a familiar sound. "Your honesty is refreshing. Keep it." Before Taiho could respond, the ship shook. A deep explosion echoed through the metal walls. Alarms began to scream. Kira burst through the door, her face twisted with rage and fear. "My lady, assassins! They have found us!" Lady Sarah was on her feet in an instant. Her expression transformed from soft to deadly in a heartbeat. When she spoke, her voice was pure ice. "How many?" "At least 30. And they brought a warship. 30 assassins. A warship. They had come to kill one woman, and they had brought an army." Lady Sarah grabbed Taiho's arm. Her grip was like iron. Her golden eyes burned with intensity. "Stay with me, little human," she commanded. "I will not let them take what is mine." Another explosion rocked the ship. The hunt had begun. The station was burning. Alarms screamed through every corridor. Emergency lights painted everything in bloody red. Taiho ran beside Lady Sarah as chaos erupted around them. They had escaped from her ship just before a second explosion tore through its docking clamps. Now they were somewhere in the station's lower levels, trying to reach the backup hangar. Velrith assassins were everywhere. Taiho had counted at least 20 in the last 10 minutes. They moved like shadows, appearing from nowhere attacking without warning. But Lady Sierra was faster. Taiho watched her fight, and for the first time, he truly understood why she was called the Butcher. She moved like water, like wind, like death itself. One moment she was beside him. The next moment she was across the room, her claws buried in an assassin's chest. She killed 3 enemies before they could even raise their weapons. Blood sprayed across the walls. Silver Velrith blood, darker than human red. Lady Sierra's dress was soaked in it. Her face was spattered with it. But she did not slow down. "Stay behind me," she commanded over her shoulder. "Do not stop moving." Taiho did not argue. He could barely keep up with her. His human legs were not made for this kind of speed. They turned a corner and ran into 5 assassins at once. Kira was with them, fighting beside her lady. The head guard was wounded, deep cuts across her arms and chest, but she fought with desperate fury. "Go!" Kira shouted. "I will hold them." "I will not leave you," Lady Sierra snarled. "You must." Kira blocked a blade aimed at her throat. "Get to the ship." "Get him out." Lady Sierra hesitated. In that moment of hesitation, an assassin's blade caught her across the back. She cried out in pain and stumbled. Taiho caught her. His arms wrapped around her before he could think. She was cold against his chest, cold and bleeding and hurt. "Go," Kira said again. Her voice was weaker now. More assassins were coming. "Please, my lady, live." Lady Sierra made a sound that might have been grief. Then she grabbed Taiho's hand and pulled him down a side corridor. They ran. Behind them, Taiho heard Kira's battle cry turn into silence. The backup hangar was 3 levels up. Lady Sierra was slowing down. The wound on her back was deep. Silver blood left a trail behind them. "You need to stop," Taiho said. "You need to rest." "Cannot stop," she gasped. "They will find us." She was right. Taiho could hear footsteps echoing through the corridors. The assassins were hunting them. He looked around desperately. They were in a maintenance section. Pipes and wires covered the walls. Emergency panels lined the ceiling. An idea formed in his mind. A crazy idea. A stupid idea. The only idea he had. "This way," he said. "I know a shortcut." He led her through the maintenance corridors. He knew this section well. As a cargo inspector, he had memorized every part of the station. Every room, every hallway, every emergency system. They climbed through a ventilation shaft. Lady Sierra barely fit, but she forced herself through. Her breathing was heavy. Her skin was pale, paler than usual. "Almost there," Taiho whispered. "Just a little further." They emerged in a storage room 2 levels up. The backup hangar was just down the hall. But standing between them and the door was a single assassin. He was bigger than the others, older. His eyes burned with cold intelligence. In his hand was a curved blade that dripped with silver blood. He smiled when he saw them. "The Butcher of Kilos," he said. "Wounded and weak, and guarded by a human." He laughed. "This will be easy." Lady Sierra tried to stand straight, tried to fight, but her body failed her. She collapsed against Taiho, barely conscious. The assassin walked toward them slowly. He was enjoying this. After centuries of fear, the great Lady Sierra was finally helpless. Taiho looked at the woman in his arms. The most dangerous creature he had ever met. The one who had laughed at his stupid compliments. The one who had shown him loneliness behind her mask. The one who had called him interesting. Every instinct screamed at him to run. He was a cargo inspector. He was human. He was prey. He had no weapons, no claws, no fangs. He had nothing. But he also had her. And she had chosen to protect him. Taiho gently lowered Lady Sierra against the wall. Then he stood up and stepped between her and the assassin. "Move aside, little creature," the assassin said. "My business is not with you." "Your business is with her," Taiho replied. His voice shook. His legs shook. Everything shook. "So your business is with me." The assassin tilted his head. "You would die for a Velroth? You, a human?" "Probably," Taiho admitted. "But not today." He reached for the emergency panel on the wall. The assassin saw the movement and lunged forward, blade raised. Taiho was faster. Not faster than a Velroth. That was impossible. But he had started moving before the assassin expected it. He slammed his hand on the emergency vacuum release. The wall behind the assassin exploded outward. Air rushed toward the breach with terrible force. The assassin screamed as he was pulled toward the void. Taiho grabbed a pipe with one hand and Lady Sira with the other. The suction tore at them both. His arm felt like it was being ripped from his socket. The emergency seal activated. The breach closed. The assassin was gone, pulled into the cold emptiness of space. Silence fell over the storage room. Taiho collapsed beside Lady Sira, gasping for air. His whole body hurt, but they were alive. Lady Sira opened her eyes, golden and bright, even through her pain. She stared at him with an expression he had never seen before. "You protected me," she whispered. "I pressed a button," Taiho said. "That is not really protecting. You stood between me and death." Her voice cracked. "You, a human, against a Velroth assassin. You should have run. You told me to stay with you." Lady Sira's eyes grew wet. Taiho had not known Velroth could cry. "In 400 years," she said softly, "no one has ever stood between me and death. No one has ever protected me. I am the one who protects others. I am the weapon, the shield, the monster." "You are not a monster," Taiho said. "You are a person. A scary person. But a person." She laughed weakly. "Your honesty will be the death of you, little human." "Probably." "Can you walk?" "We need to reach your ship." With Taiho's help, Lady Sira made it to the backup hangar. Her ship, or what remained of her crew, had fled here during the attack. Only a handful of guards survived. But they had a ship. They launched into space as the station's defenses finally responded. The assassin's warship retreated, outnumbered. For now, they were safe. Taiho sat in the medical bay as a Velroth doctor treated Lady Sira's wounds. She was healing fast, faster than any human could. But she would not let go of his hand. "You have no idea what you have done," she said quietly. "I saved your life," Taiho replied. "That seems pretty clear." "No," she pulled him closer. Her golden eyes burned into his. "You proved your worth. In Velroth culture, a protector who risks death for another earns the right to stand beside them forever." Taiho felt his blood freeze. "What does that mean?" Lady Sira smiled. Her fangs glinted in the medical light. But she did not bite him. Instead, she leaned forward and brushed her fangs gently against his neck. "It means you are mine now, little human," she whispered. "And I am not letting you go." Taiho closed his eyes. He was in so much trouble. And somehow, he did not mind. 3 months later, Taiho stood in the heart of the Velroth Empire. Around him rose towers of black stone that reached toward a red sky. 2 moons hung overhead, one silver, one gold. The air was cold and thin and smelled of copper. He was on the Velroth homeworld. He was in the Imperial Court, and he was surrounded by hundreds of vampire aliens who looked at him like he was dinner. Lady Sira had brought him here to present him formally as her consort candidate. It was an ancient Velroth tradition. Someone who protected a noble with their own life had the right to claim a bond. Taiho had done exactly that when he saved her from the assassin. The problem was that no human had ever been a consort candidate before, and the Velroth nobility was not happy about it. "This is an insult," one lord shouted from the gallery. His eyes blazed red with fury. "A human? Standing beside the Duchess of the Third Dominion? It is a disgrace. The creature should be fed upon, not courted," another noble agreed. "Humans are prey. They always have been. They always will be." Taiho stood still in the center of the court. His heart pounded so hard, he was sure every Velroth in the room could hear it. His hands wanted to shake. His legs wanted to run. But he forced himself to remain calm. Beside him, Lady Syrah was like a statue of ice and fury. Her silver skin seemed to glow with barely contained rage. When she spoke, her voice silenced every whisper. "I, Lady Syrah of the Third Dominion, Duchess and Bloodkeeper, declare this human as my consort candidate according to the ancient laws. He saved my life. He stood between me and death. He has earned the right. The right must be proven." A massive Velroth stepped forward from the crowd. He was older than most, his skin marked with hundreds of battle scars. A consort candidate must pass the trial of worth, even a human. Lady Syrah went pale, paler than usual. "Lord Hyan, you cannot be serious." "The law is clear," Lord Hyan said with a cruel smile. "Any candidate must prove their worth through combat. If he cannot fight, he cannot stand beside you." Combat. Taiho felt the word hit him like a physical blow. Combat against the Velroth. He might as well fight a tornado with his bare hands. "I will choose a champion for him," Lady Syrah said quickly. "That is also tradition? Not for a human." Lord Hyan shook his head. "Humans have no standing in our court. He must fight for himself or be rejected." The court murmured with agreement. Eyes gleamed with anticipation. They wanted to see a human die. They wanted entertainment. Lady Syrah turned to Taiho. For the first time since he had known her, he saw fear in her golden eyes. Real, genuine fear. "I will withdraw my claim," she whispered. "I will not let you die for this." Taiho looked at her. This ancient, powerful, terrifying woman who had killed more beings than he could count. This lonely creature who had laughed at his stupid jokes. This person who had held his hand through hyperspace and whispered secrets she had never told anyone. "You did not run from your enemies," he said. "I will not run from this. Taiho, please. They will kill you, maybe." He smiled, though his heart raced with terror. "But I would rather die as someone who stood by your side than live as someone who abandoned you." Lady Syrah stared at him. Her eyes grew wet again. She did not cry, but it was close. "Foolish human," she whispered. "Brave, foolish human." The trial took place in an arena carved from black stone. Thousands of Velroth filled the seats, watching with hungry eyes. Taiho stood in the center, feeling very small and very human. His opponent was a warrior named Jiho. He was 7 feet tall, covered in muscle and scars, and had never lost a single match in 500 years of fighting. He looked at Taiho like a cat looking at a mouse. "I will make this quick," Jiho said. "As a mercy?" "Thank you," Taiho replied. "I think." The fight began. Jiho moved like lightning. One moment, he was across the arena. The next moment, he was in front of Taiho, claws swinging. Taiho dodged, barely. He felt the wind of the attack pass his face. If it had connected, his head would have left his shoulders. He ran. There was no shame in running. Running kept him alive. He sprinted across the arena, Jiho chasing behind him, laughing at the pathetic human. But Taiho was not just running. He was thinking. The arena had gravity generators. He had noticed them when he entered. They kept the fighting space stable, adjusted the weight for different species. He had also noticed the control panel on the far wall. Taiho ran toward it. Jiho caught up to him halfway. A claw caught Taiho's arm, drawing blood. Red blood, bright and human. The crowd cheered. But Taiho kept running. The pain was fire, but he pushed through it. He reached the wall just as Jiho prepared the killing blow. Taiho slammed his bloody hand on the control panel. The gravity shifted. Suddenly, the entire arena was pulling sideways instead of down. Jiho, caught mid-swing, was thrown off balance. He tumbled across the floor, crashing into the opposite wall. Taiho grabbed a chain that hung from the ceiling. He swung himself toward Jiho, who was still trying to stand. The warrior was stronger and faster, but he was also heavier. The strange gravity affected him more. They collided. Taiho wrapped the chain around Jiho's neck. Not to kill. He could never kill a Velroth with his bare hands. But to hold. Yield, Taiho gasped. His arm was bleeding badly. His body was screaming with pain. Yield and this ends. Jiho struggled. The chain held. He could break it easily, but it would take a moment. And in that moment, the gravity could shift again. Taiho's hand hovered over the control panel. If I change the gravity to maximum, we both die, Taiho said. You from the impact. Me from the pressure. Neither of us wins. Jiho's eyes widened. You would kill yourself? If I have to. Taiho met the warrior's gaze. But I would rather we both walk away. A draw. Neither of us loses. Both of us keep our honor. The arena went silent. A draw. There had not been a draw in over 1,000 years. Jiho stared at this tiny bleeding human who had outsmarted him, who had used his brain instead of his muscles, who was willing to die rather than lose. Slowly, the warrior began to laugh. Not a cruel laugh. A surprised laugh. A respectful laugh. A draw, Jiho said. I accept. The crowd erupted. Some screamed in anger. Others shouted in shock. But above it all, a single voice rang out. Enough! The Emperor of the Velroth descended from his throne. He was ancient beyond measure, his skin almost white, his eyes burning like twin suns. The crowd went silent immediately. He walked to the center of the arena, where Taiho and Jiho still stood tangled together. He looked at the human with an expression of deep curiosity. You have no claws, the Emperor said. No fangs. No speed. No strength. Yet, you stand. I am stubborn, Taiho said. It is a human trait. The Emperor smiled. It was a terrifying sight, all fangs and ancient power. But there was also something else in it, respect. Perhaps there is more to humanity than we knew, the Emperor declared. This human has proven his worth. The claim is valid. He may stand beside Lady Syrah as her consort. The arena fell silent. Then slowly applause began. First from one noble, then another. It was not enthusiastic, but it was acceptance. Taiho collapsed. Everything hurt, but strong arms caught him before he hit the ground. Lady Syrah held him close, her golden eyes shining with tears she would not shed in public. Foolish, she whispered. Brave, wonderful, foolish human. Did I win? Taiho asked weakly. You drew. Which is better? You showed the entire empire that humans can stand against us. Good. Can I pass out now? Yes, Lady Syrah said, laughing through her tears. You have earned it. Later, after the doctors had healed his wounds, Taiho stood with Lady Syrah on a balcony overlooking the Velroth capital. The twin moons rose over towers of black stone. The red sky had faded to purple. You know, Taiho said, I never actually meant to flirt with you that first day. I was just scared out of my mind. Lady Syrah laughed. That wonderful, rare laugh that she only made for him. "I know," she said. "That is what made it charming. My brave, terrified little human." She traced a claw gently down his cheek. It could have killed him with the smallest pressure. Instead, it was tender, loving. "I am still terrified," Taiho admitted. "Good." Lady Sarah's smile showed all her fangs. "That means you understand exactly what you have gotten yourself into." She kissed him under the alien moons. Her lips were cold, but the feeling was warm. Somewhere across the galaxy, the story was already spreading. The human who flirted with a vampire alien. The cargo inspector who stood against assassins. The prey who became an equal. Humanity's reputation was changing. They were not just prey anymore. They were something far more interesting. And Taiho, nervous and trembling and braver than he ever knew, had started it all with one stupid compliment about fangs. The end.